Welcome back to another episode of Born Again Bowhunting Podcast. On this episode, we're continuing the Ladies of the Outdoor series, and we are joined by Jessica. So how's it going tonight, Jessica?
It's good. How are you?
We're doing good. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on and for thinking of me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for those of the listeners that maybe don't know who you are, why don't you give a little bit of a background of who you are and what your guys' brand is?
Okay, so my name's Jess. My husband and I have an online outdoor show is what I would call it. We air on Carbon TV. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. And yeah, we're basically hunting and fishing, shooting archery, raising our kids outdoors, and just kind of bringing everybody along for that journey. And we're silly and goofy. We're very much like just ourselves. We're not like a serious, super, you know what I mean, cut and dry thing. So
I think that makes it more relatable to most people. You know, if you're just yourself and you're goofy and you show that on social media platforms and stuff, I think more people can relate to it, honestly.
Yeah, I think the serious stuff gets kind of intimidating. Like,
the cookie cutter.
Like, yeah,
absolutely.
So we'll hit you with some icebreakers, and then we'll kind of get into the podcast. So the first one is, during hunting season, what's your go-to drink? If you stop at a gas station, you know, coffee, water, energy drink, what is it? What's your go-to have to have?
Well, my husband says I can't have coffee or tea because then I end up having to like pee all the time. So usually it's like red cream soda or root beer would be my go-to. But
those are new.
He's usually right behind me, like figuring out what I can drink because I'm a woman and that's how it works.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's good.
So question number 2 is, what's your current bow setup?
My current bow setup, I'm shooting. So I've had the same setup I think I've shot this for 3 years now. And it's the Expedition Thresher X. It's an older bow, but I've had it for 3 years and it's worked great. So I shoot that with a black gold sight, single pin, and blood sport arrows. And I've pretty much stayed the same for the last like 3 years, which I know is boring because I feel like everybody's getting like all different stuff all the time. But I have the new Expedition, the X Lite, on order. So we're supposed to be getting it hopefully before hunting season, but I'm right-handed but left-eye dominant. And so to get a left-handed woman's bow that's all my specs is like an act of God. So I don't have it yet, but I'm hoping to get it. But honestly, like, I don't love switching bows because I just like using whatever I'm comfortable with. Like, had it forever. I know it works, and I'm cool with that.
Well,
so
there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, comfort when you're comfortable is when you perform your best. So there's nothing.
I feel like there's like so much pressure in this industry to like get the newest bow and get the newest stuff and like all of this. I'm like, that's what people are like. What are you shooting? And I'm like, the same bow I've had for years now. So
hey,
I don't know if that's cool or not, but
that's all that matters.
Right. I'm like, it works for me, so it's good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's interesting that you're left-handed too, because our last lady, Emily Shad, is left-handed too, and she said the same thing. Like, when new bows come out, it's hard for her to get a new bow to shoot it and see if she even likes it, because like the left-handed stuff doesn't come out until way later, and nobody has it in stock, period.
Yep.
So
it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, she did the same thing. She had like a 2 or 3 year old bow, and then she just now this year was finally upgrading.
Yeah, so my daughter's left-handed also, and so she's got like the cheapo like Cabela's one that's $10, the little green one. And so I was telling her this week, I was like, we need to get you another bow. And then I'm looking online for kids left-handed bows, and that's even more of like,
I'm sure.
So now I'm on the hunt for a little girl's left-handed bow that pulls 2 pounds. And
that would be a struggle.
Yeah.
And then the final icebreaker question is, what is your favorite trail camera, and approximately how many did you guys run this past year?
So we use the Stealth Cam. We have the new cell cameras out. The last year, gosh, I don't know. I don't even know. So Josh runs a lot of the cameras, and I don't ask a lot of questions because I know that we pay separately for each one of those cell cams.
So you don't want to know the final number.
Right. I know at the end of hunting season, he's like, we could probably make another house payment with all the money that we're saving from the trail cameras. So I don't even know. We have, like, here locally, we have, probably 6 or 7 properties that we run a few on at a time.
Yeah.
And then we've got some down in Oklahoma that we run. And so Yeah, I feel like his phone's always dinging with all the trail cameras. And then through the day, he's like, did you see that one come across? Did you see the one that was there? I'm like, great.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's awesome.
So I guess to start off here, so when did you maybe start hunting, and like who introduced you to hunting? Did you grow up in it, or did you,
Is this something you came upon later in life, or we always like to know, like what age, because some people are born into it and they get into it really young, and other people kind of find it, maybe like in high school and in their teens, and that's when they kind of fall in love with it.
Yeah. So I was 27. So I was older.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I went to school at a really small town. And so hunter's education was a requirement for us in 8th grade.
Okay.
Like in our
That's
PE
cool.
class.
That's awesome.
And so, right. But I was like 8th grade and I'm like the cheerleader in 8th grade. Like, when the heck am I ever going to use whatever.
Yeah.
I just got my passing grade and I was cool. And so, but when Josh and I started dating, I knew that he had hunted. And I had a bow that I played around with a little bit, but never had the intention of hunting. It was just something fun. And so it was one of the first dates that we went on. We went and he's like, do you want to go sit in a tree stand with me? And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay. So we went up and sat in a tree stand, and I think we saw one doe and 2 fawns with her and a buck that night. I scared all of them off because I didn't know how to be quiet and hold still. And after that, it was during that time that he had asked me something about hunting. And I was like, oh yeah, I got my hunter safety in middle school, whatever. And he's like, what? And so it was the very next day I had he was teaching me how to shoot a crossbow. We went to Goodfellas, got all my tags, and I was off hunting, which was fun. So
that's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice to hear that you were introduced more to hunting when you were, in your mid to late 20s. Because so far the other ladies kind of family grew up in it and stuff. So it just shows that maybe you don't have to start when you're, 6 years old. You can jump into it at any point in your life and enjoy it just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and growing up, I really thought, because my dad would take my cousin turkey hunting, and it was always a boys thing and not a girls thing, if that makes sense. And so even when we started dating, I'm like, that's a dude's thing. I don't, am I going to do well outdoors? I guess. I don't know. But it was, it's been fun. It's been probably one of my favorite hobbies that I've picked up.
Good.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's enjoyable. So, but your family, you grew up in a hunting family, but
just you didn't really partake in.
Yes and no. My dad would hunt. I think my dad shot 1 deer and we had it on the wall. And then he could take my cousin out turkey hunting and he loved that. And then we would fish every once in a while, but we weren't a big hunting family. And I'll tell you that until I was hunting myself, I would not eat any wild game at all. I remember years before Josh and I started dating, I had a deer burger and I didn't know it. They were like, oh, see, Jess, you like deer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I lost it. I was like, I don't eat deer, whatever. And now I don't even remember the last time that we got hamburger from the store, because that's all that we eat.
Yeah.
So.
That's all. That's the way a lot of people do it too. They feed it to someone, then don't tell them until after they've had it.
Right. And now I'm the person that's you're going to like it. Just try it.
Now you're feeding it to your friends being like, oh yeah, you had deer. And they're like, oh no.
Right. I literally carry around deer jerky in my purse. And I'm like, you want a snack?
That's awesome.
That's cool. Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that answers those two. So really learning all of this stuff in the outdoors has just kind of been with you and your now husband.
Pretty much.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a unique thing, because most people learn from a father or some sort of father figure. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. I
will say, and he'll probably tell you the same thing, it's not easy to learn from your husband, because I'm not great at taking criticism and all of that. And so there are things that learning to do certain things with my bow and shoot a little bit better and stuff like that. I do better if I go to the archery shop and I can ask him the questions instead of us sitting down and trying to do it. Cause then I'm like, you don't know everything and whatever. And then I have an attitude and
well,
that is the case.
I would agree with that, because when I'm out in the yard shooting with my wife, Sarah, I almost hold her to a higher standard than what she is or when she started. And it's like, well, why aren't you doing this stuff? But if she goes to somebody else, like you said, like a pro shop or something, they don't know anything about the person. They just give them pointers and everything. And then they go from where you're at and build you up. And it's a little bit different than like, me with Sarah. So I get it on both ends there. And it's like, sometimes we just need to step back a little bit and realize like, hey, they didn't start out doing this when we did. This is new to them. They're doing it because we want them to shoot with us or hunt with us and enjoy the same kind of sport as what we're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
cool.
that's.
And I still feel like, I've been doing it for, this will be my 6th year, I think. I think it's my 6th year.
Okay.
And I don't feel like I'm new, but I still feel like I have a lot of questions.
Right.
And I'm very I want to know like the technical stuff, like why things happen the way they happen. And so I ask a lot of questions, and
that's good.
Sometimes Josh is like, okay, are you done?
That's good though.
Just shoot the deer.
Yeah. It's good to ask more questions than to not ask really any.
Yeah.
It's good to know what's going on. That's good.
Yeah.
So let's see. What is your favorite thing to hunt? Is it deer? Well, I guess it can be anything really.
It's hard because I feel like it's whatever is like the season coming up.
Yeah.
Because I love like the prep part of it. And I love turkey hunting because it's so interactive and fun and the weather's a little bit nicer. But then like the prep part of deer and like getting our stands ready and planning the food plots and feeding and watching like the deer grow and watching the process of it. I love that too. So it's hard because I love all of it. I will say deer season gets a little bit chaotic around here because we have 3 kids. And so we're finding 5 mature deer for all of the kids to shoot and a good time for them to go out. And so it gets a little bit chaotic, but I probably deer because I love the time that I can just go out and it's quiet. And sometimes I don't even care if we see a deer because it's just quiet and not chaotic. And you can just sit there and breathe and just enjoy outside.
Yeah.
And then do you have a favorite activity outdoors that's not hunting? Like camping or hiking or just shooting your bow is one that we've added to it that a lot of people have said as well.
Yeah. We have a range that's like 5 minutes from our house. And so we go out there and shoot our bows out there. They've got ponds that we can fish. There's a gun range we took all the kids to yesterday and shot guns for the 4th of July. And so that was fun. Hold on a second.
You're good.
Sorry, kids.
You're fine.
So we love doing that stuff, but we also like hiking. I love fishing. Like if we can just get to a pond and fish for an afternoon, I'm like in heaven. So really anything that's outdoors, and even if it's something that we're not usually doing, like I'm like, okay, let's go try that or do that or whatever. It's just nice to get outside, and we're not big technology people, and we're not big, like our kids don't have iPads here or cell phones or anything like that. And so we kind of, not like we push it, but we don't give them a whole lot of options besides just doing stuff outside,
That's limited screen time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So since we kind of touched on your bow earlier, do you want to go over your setup a little bit more in depth, like maybe like your draw length, draw poundage, a little bit about your arrow setup then too? Because we've gotten some questions in the past, like, what's a good bow for a lady? And there's a very limited number of like bows designed for ladies out there.
Yeah. And really most of them aren't even geared towards women. They're geared towards youth, which is what a lot of women end up having to shoot anyways. So yeah.
So I'm going to be totally honest. I don't know a lot of like the technical side of things.
That's fine.
We do spend a lot of time at our bow shop, and I love when we go to Elevated Archery here in Kansas City area, but he's in Bonner Springs.
Yeah.
And JP is like a genius with bows. So he does the whole setup thing and all of that stuff and gets it all dialed in for us. So I don't know like a lot of the
That's fine.
That's fine.
Number things. I will say I get a lot of questions from women on like what bows are good and stuff. And I always tell them to go to a shop and shoot them. Like, because I feel like anyone can push one certain brand or one certain kind or whatever, but they all feel so different to us.
Yeah.
And also even switching from, we used to shoot Athens and over to Expedition, like that was a different Like it just felt different. Like it was, you know what I mean? And it took me a while to get used to because I was used to one. So I always tell them, I'm like, go to even Cabela's because they have all of them. It's like, just go there and spend some time and shoot each one and see which one feels the best to you.
Yeah.
And then go to a professional to set it up because I feel like a lot of people try to set it up on their own and it's not always accurate and always the best.
It's just best to go to a pro shop. They got all the right tools. That's their job. They know all the ins and outs to set up a bow, put a sight on, put a rest on, all that stuff, tune everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
well, and even like arrow, like the weights and all of that stuff, like they can steer you in the right direction instead of just going with whatever Joe Bob says on Instagram is like the coolest. Because realistically, like, does he actually believe that, or is that just what he's getting paid to say, or what he's getting for free? You know?
Yep.
So,
and that was something that we've stressed, but not only us all the time, but the other women that we've had on have stressed is go to a pro shop and ask questions. Just ask. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because if you don't know it, you don't know any better. So ask, and go to a pro shop, because those are the people that know.
Yep.
Right.
So, absolutely.
And I feel like we get really intimidated as women to do that because we don't want to seem like we don't know what's going on. But I'll say that even whenever I am like intimidated, once I go in, I'm at home. Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to sit there and act like you're an idiot or dumb for not knowing. Like you're new, and hopefully they're supportive and helpful and teaching you and stuff.
I guess that is, I guess there will be some mom and pop shops that probably won't be as helpful or as nice, but just leave them in the dust. Go find a different one, because there is a good one out there for everybody.
Yeah. And they want to help you learn too. And they also want you to buy product from them. So they're going to, try to set it up for you and everything like that too. Yeah. Help you out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, is there anything that you would like to tell your younger self, what you know now, maybe, as far as getting into hunting or anything like that?
Well, do you wish now that you would have gotten into this earlier?
Yes, but I think that timing
for you was
yes.
Yeah.
Because whenever I did like pick it up and learn it, and I met Josh and like he helped me get into it, I was really at a place where I didn't like, it's going to sound like super cheesy and weird, but I didn't know myself. Like I didn't know what I liked or anything like that. And I was at this point where I was like, I'm just going to say yes to anything that sounds fun and just try it and see if I like it. And so that's why I said yes to going to sitting in a tree stand. And I think that really helped me get out of like a really weird spot in my life. And so, yes, I could have been cooler if I started earlier, but at the same time, like it all happened so perfectly that it was great.
It was good timing. Yeah. For that transition point in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. One other question I had was, clothing or gear geared more towards women. Do you have any kind of clothing line or gear that
you like?
Yeah, that you've used in the past and it works out good for you? Yeah.
So I use Element is what we wear. And I love like their early and mid-season, like love that stuff. But once we get into like cold weather, I live in a heated vest. Like I do a heated vest under my stuff. Usually I'll do heated socks. And then of course, like the hand warmers, but a heated vest has like completely saved me. And I'll say that that's why a lot of the women that I talk to, if I ask if they deer hunt because their husbands hunt and they're complaining that their husbands aren't ever home and whatever. And I'm like, oh, do you go with them? And it's like, oh no, it's too cold. And I'm like, go get a heated vest. Like here's the Amazon link. Go get this because it's going to save your season and your marriage.
I know.
That's a good tip too, because like when it gets cold, Sarah doesn't want to go out at all because she gets cold so easy. Right. So like a heated vest, that's a good option. And they're fairly affordable anymore. And like the battery packs aren't big and bulky or anything. Like the size of your cell phone for the most part anymore. So that's a pro tip. Everybody listening.
Yeah. Pro tip. Seriously. Yeah. I might be
I think in the one that I got, it's like Amazon. It was like $50 and it does the power banks. And so if I ever need like a new battery, it just uses a power bank and plugs in and good. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Element is also one of the ones that I've heard before that they make like a decent amount that women fit into nicely.
A good variety of clothing and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. And I'll say like I'm a little bit smaller of a woman. And so like before I was wearing like youth stuff and that sucks because I don't want to wear little boy clothes.
Yeah.
And so Element clothes do fit like I have all of their stuff in smalls and they actually fit true size, which is nice.
Okay.
Well, and they don't look like big boxy man clothes, which
dude,
nice.
There's a market out there for just
absolutely.
Like the perfect woman's clothing for hunting.
Yeah.
Because this is it's amazing how everyone is saying the same thing. They had to start out in, like men's youth clothes, and they were horrible. And it's like, man.
Yeah. If somebody would just realize how many women are actually out there hunting and needed clothing like to fit them properly, they could hit the market off really good.
I think they could do.
We'll put your
and like really, really nice warm stuff, because that's what whenever I was like starting out, I was in little boy stuff, so I literally remember having like 6 layers.
Yeah,
and it's like I could never shoot a bow with 6 layers of clothing on. Like even still, that's why I do the heated vest, because I can do like 1 layer heated vest jacket and still be able to pull my bow back and not be like the Michelin man.
The other thing too is figuring out warm clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we may have to start something up here. Jeez.
Can we have like the Jessica line? Is that like a thing?
Hey, maybe.
Design a line and like you can name it after
There we go.
Because we'll have to bring in a bunch of people to wear it and figure out what works before.
Get some field staff out there.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah, we may have to dabble in that.
Yeah. We'll put a link to the clothing that you mentioned down in the description of the podcast, though. So in case anybody's listening, they want to go over there and check it out, the link will be down in the bottom. So feel free to check it out.
And then whenever you guys start yours, I'll link yours in my
Absolutely. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, we can talk about any challenges that in the last few years that she's run into, but is there anything that you can think of that has been a challenge since? I guess it works out nicely that you've been doing this with your husband and it's not just been you solely. So
it does. I feel like he's helped me avoid a lot of mistakes, which is nice. I did start. So whenever I started with the crossbow.
Yeah.
And I think I shot my first 3 deer with the crossbow, and then I switched over to a bow. And I'd say that was probably the biggest challenge, because I mean, with the crossbow, you have so much confidence because you literally pull the trigger and it's done. Like there's not even a question. And with the bow, there's a lot more that goes into that. So I'll say that's probably the biggest challenge. And I remember the first time that I tried to shoot a deer with the bow and I missed was because I was in bulky clothes. I had never tried to shoot a deer with like all of my cold weather stuff. So that's one thing that like every season, even still, I'll go out, put all the stuff on that I'm going to wear that day. And I go out and shoot my bow, because I remember I had a face mask and it was all the way up and I couldn't come in and anchor.
Right.
And I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't even know what to do, because I've never done this before with all my stuff on. So that was probably, switching from crossbow to bow was probably the biggest challenge, just confidence wise. And I shoot my bow all the time. So it wasn't, I knew I could shoot my bow, but could I shoot it from a tree stand at an animal with all my clothes on, you know?
Yeah. That's a big pro tip. Cause like we go out, I mean, when I go out and shoot my bow, a lot of times I'll put on the boots that I'm going to be wearing for hunting season. I'm wearing my bino harness. I mean, I'm wearing a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be wearing, because practicing in that stuff just gives you a comfort. That when it happens in the moment, it's you're used to having all that stuff on you and it's just there.
There's no second guessing. Is my string going to hit the bino harness or anything like that?
Because you've already shot it 100 times.
You've already done it. Yep. That's a good.
That's a good
point.
tip that we haven't talked about much really ever.
Not really.
Okay.
Is there any advice that you'd like to give any of the lady listeners, or maybe new hunters or anything like that?
I would say just try it. I mean, I feel like it's hard because it does seem like it's a male dominated thing. And even like, I think that women don't want to bother their husbands with going along, but I think Josh loves me coming along whenever he goes hunting, and he enjoys like that time of just us. And I think a lot of husbands would be like that if the women tried, but I feel like a lot of women are like, oh, my husband's gone all hunting season and whatever. And that's whenever usually I'm like, do you go with him, or have you hunted or whatever? And they're like, oh no, because whatever, all the excuses, and they don't feel like it or whatever. But I'm like, but you get like hours of peace and quiet with no children. So like, doesn't that sound nice? Like,
that's true.
That sounds good. But I do. I wish that more would try, because I don't even have a lot of like female hunter friends that whatever. Usually I'm in the guys' conversation when we're talking about hunting.
Yeah. And that was something that we touched on with the last guest is I feel like in the last like 5 to 8 years, really the number of women getting into this has jumped exponentially compared to what it was, previously.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back 20 years and I don't think there was really any women doing it, at least none that were, doing it on a show other than, Lee and Tiffany Lukoski.
Yep.
But I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I enjoy it.
Yeah. And it gives my wife something to, because she's been doing it ever since she grew up in a family that hunted and everything, and she's been doing it forever. And it's really cool for her to see the growth and for her to just get a lot more comfortable because there's all these other women that are doing it as well.
Yeah. It's just a good, like, I don't know how I want to say it, I guess. It gives more role models to the women out there to look up to and see that they're doing it right. They're actually putting in the time and the effort, and they're getting results. Like, you've shot some really nice deer here in the last few years too. So, I mean, that's got to be a big confidence booster to yourself. And then, other people like, hey, she can do it. I'm going to go out there and do it as well.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah. Minus my children, because my children think that they only shoot big deer. And that's all. Like, they're getting to the point now where they're like so picky. And even my daughter, she's like, I shoot big deer. I shoot old. I'm like, okay. It was her first deer ever was like a 5-year-old that was like giant.
Yeah.
And she was 5 at the time. So we were like, oh, 5-year-old shoots like a 5-year-old. And so now she's like big headed and like, yeah. She's like, I have to shoot the biggest deer this year. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I'd rather have it that way than any other way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's cool.
I know. I love it.
It's cool you're getting the kids out there too and experiencing it as well.
That's
getting
worth
the next generation out there and hunting too.
Absolutely. That's what we need.
It's fun and they love it. We had a trail camera picture come across the other day, and so we were looking at it in the truck, and then they all like poke their heads up. And they're like, I want to shoot that one. And I want to shoot that one. And like
and it probably it probably helps a lot also for them to see both parents hunting. Mm-hmm. It makes them want to get into it that much more than if just your husband hunted.
Yeah.
So that's cool, and you're gonna make it a whole family affair. That's cool.
Yeah, like you said, you went to the range the other day and you guys did some shooting and stuff, and you can do fishing as a whole group activity. So that's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We do pretty much all of it as a family.
Yeah, that's good. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Okay.
Anything else, or
that's about all that I have.
Yeah. Well, we have one final closing question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So we didn't prep you for this one, and we don't like to. We like it on the spot.
We like raw answers for stuff.
Okay.
So what is one thing from hunting that you've learned that you can apply to your everyday life?
What is one thing that hunting has taught you that you feel has helped you in other aspects of your life?
Probably the patience side, because I'm somebody that loves like the quick results, and I'm a very like busy, quick person. And so just the patience and like, I don't know how to explain it, but yes, the patient side has been very big for me because I'm not naturally the most patient person. So
hunting definitely teaches you patience, that's for sure, because hours at the tree stand and no results, and you keep on going right back to the same thing because you want something to happen.
Right. Isn't that like the definition of insanity too? Like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yes.
But here we are.
It is patience. That's one we've heard a few times, and it's just so true.
Yeah.
So if you're listening out there and you need some patience, pick up hunting.
Yeah.
You'll learn real quick.
Right.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to let the listeners know what platforms you're on and what social media where they can find you at? Excuse me.
Yeah. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things, and we're just at Flatlanders TV. And so we share our family, our hunting, silliness. We're kind of all over the place, but it's fun.
Yep, that's good.
It's cool.
Raw stuff. That's what the world needs. They don't need no cookie cutter. No more cookie cutter people and families.
I know. That's what I'm like. I would love to have that perfect like curated Instagram feed that's like all the same like lighting and all of these things. And we're like, here's a fish, and then here we are with our bows, and here's a gun. So we're all the things.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's just more relatable, though.
Yeah.
It honestly is.
Yeah.
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 Well, we hope you guys shoot some nice deer this year, which it sounds like you guys are already on it. So
Yeah.
awesome.
We're hoping so.
Yeah.
We're
And
hoping.
if you have too many big ones out there and the kids are already filled their tags,
Yeah, you just let us
call
know.
up. We'll make a
Right,
trip
you
out
too.
there.
I mean, what 7 deer? That's no
That's not
problem.
a big deal.
No issue.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
we really appreciate
We
it.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Doesn't
All right.
matter what you've done in the past. You can always be born again, and born again is out.
Peace.